It's serious, man. Tax season is on the
It's
way.
scary.
I've said that in previous episodes that tax season is just one season where people spend the most money because they got a refund, quote unquote, and they're going to spend that
Yeah.
frivolously. Yo, listen to this episode and this time try to do things a little bit different. This time, stack the cash and pay down debts. This time, get your refund and pay down these debts. So that way you're not in this cycle that continues and it gets pretty rough. When that cycle ramps up, it gets pretty rough.
What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Family Man Building a Brand. I am your host, Cecil Williams.
And I'm Raphael Say.
What's going on, people? So today we have another one. We're
Know
getting
it.
closer to the holidays, and Ralph and I wanted to tackle this particular topic, specifically about money habits as it pertains to debt and credit. So today is
Sure.
going to be an interesting one because before we got on, I was telling Ralph, we're getting our Dave Ramsey on today,
Yep.
man.
No doubt. No doubt. It's necessary, man. It's necessary. I think it was necessary for us to do an episode like this because when we did the research on the stats on credit in
Yeah.
the US right now, like bewildering, man. So I wanted us to run through some of these key stats just to let the audience know, like, yo, this is the status of credit and debt in America, and then move on to personal experiences, man, and try to help the audience tackle some of these things, man.
And to bring context, the reason we're doing this is, like Ralph said, there's a lot of information out there about all this stuff. And I think it's not to scare people to not use, America is a capitalist society. America is a society and a system that is based off of credit and debt. It's just how people utilize this stuff to make sure we're using it to our advantage. And
Right.
for those people looking to become entrepreneurs, those people who are entrepreneurs, those people who are business owners, the solopreneurs, how do they leverage that credit and debt to their advantage so it helps them and not hinder them? Because, like you said, the numbers are bleak, and we say the numbers, or we're going to go through these numbers not to scare people, but it's for people to understand really what's going on so they make better decisions so it could help them as they build their business and their brand.
I've been seeing a lot
So,
of content on social media of people trying to operate within debt nowadays. And we're talking about crazy skyrocketing interest rates, things of that sort, to where when you're in survivor mode, Cecil, you do these things because of survival. But the thing is that they come and bite you down the line. So you survived for the day. Who knows if you survive for the month?
when you talk about interest, I think you mentioned it to me the other day and you broke it down. I never even thought of it that way. I mean, yes, you do. But when you think of some like a credit card saying a 24% interest, most
Yeah.
people sign up for these
I
things
know.
and not even think about this is the interest it is charging you on the money you owe. It accrues daily, monthly, and
Yeah.
a quick stat on that I would even give it says at more than 20%, if you made the minimum payment towards this average credit card balance, it will take you more than 17 years to pay off debt and cost you more than $9,000 in interest. This is through Bankrate. These are statistics that are out there. So it got me thinking, like, I'd never thought of it that way, but that's laying it out there. But just to even start, it says in the US, and I was running the other day in the gym and I saw this information and it says
Crazy.
US credit card debt surges to 1.08 trillion.
Yeah.
It is the highest in
Yeah.
23 years.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
When they
It-
say we're in a silent depression,
Yeah, for sure.
that's what this means, bro.
It's survival mode, man. People depend on these credit cards to survive. And it makes me wonder what is going to give? How is this going to get corrected? But that's why you're seeing the highest now. So you got to remember, a lot of people haven't recovered from the pandemic yet. A lot of people
Yeah.
are now going back and relapsing due to this recession. They keep saying due to press, they're saying the recession is not here yet. But look at the debt.
We're in the
people
middle of
have
it.
to survive on this. People have to survive on these credit cards and things of that sort for survival. So
Inflation is killing us. Everything is, the price of
Right.
everything is skyrocketing. So simple examples that maybe if you take even buying Chick-fil-A, which is I used to buy for my son a lot. And if you go to Chick-fil-A and you buy a meal for, let's say back then for $5.83, and you're going to Chick-fil-A today and you're buying the same meal for $7.83, or McDonald's, I noticed
Yep.
this literally, if you get him a Happy Meal, it was like $4.19.
Yep.
I literally 2 days later, I went to McDonald's and it was $5.29, the same exact meal. So you see the change in $1.10 difference. So you're noticing it. And this goes for everything to milk, to bread and all these things. So people having to pay more, and it's not like they're making more money. I
Yep.
guess that's where the culture of hustle, grind, side hustles, make more money, because if you don't do these things, you can't keep up. But I think what lies at the bottom of all this is habits,
Yep.
people's money habits. Because it says, the statistic says, most Americans are one paycheck away from a disaster. 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck and couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency. When we throw percentages out there, it makes it sound simple. If you take a 300 million population country in the United States of America, we're talking about over 230 million people living paycheck to paycheck. Bro, I don't know, but that sounds scary. And
Yep.
it shouldn't have to be this way, but it's the system we live in, and everything just keeps
Right.
compounding. And ultimately, like you say, something has to give.
Right.
And it starts with education. I know there's a level of, some people are just trying to survive. Nothing they do will make it better for them. But we're talking to the person who now then says, how do I make this work? How do I
Right.
solve this problem? I have the mindset, oh, I want to do it. Because when you think about it, yeah, if you want to start a business, if you are in the middle of a business, you have to have some good money habits. We talked about this. If you don't
Yep.
have good money habits, then you're going to fail being an entrepreneur. You're going to fail being a business owner, because it starts with your personal. And we will even go into this because it's like everybody on the internet these days is peddling business credit on people. Get
Yep.
credit here, get credit there. And if you don't know how to fix your personal, if you don't know how to manage your personal debt or
Then,
credit,
yep.
how in the world are you go? Because think of the credit, business credit. It's like a clean slate. You had this business you didn't know was eligible to get credit, to access all these funds. And all of a sudden now somebody says, hey, I could help you get business credit, and you go down that rabbit hole and you go and take more debt. You already have personal debt. You go and take more debt on the business side, and you don't have the money habits to do what it takes.
Right.
You're getting yourself in too much trouble. And I guess that's where this credit card debt comes from. It's surging.
Exactly.
It's survival, because
Right.
people just have to survive. So they're swiping these cards to just make ends meet. But I also think it comes from people who are just adventurous.
Yeah, that's definitely a good term for that, Seth. But it's foundational, man. They gave the people all this stimulus money during the pandemic, but there's no education on where to deploy that money into or how to manage that money. Therefore, it was squandered. When it comes to the credit, it's not foundational. We can
Yeah.
go and pay all these people to repair the credit and all that stuff. But to what you're saying is, if you don't have the foundation aspects of getting back into that or mismanaging your funds, you just fix your credit to roll yourself into more trouble. You fix your credit, roll yourself into
Yeah.
more trouble. It's a cycle, and that cycle has to stop not soon, because they said what the average American is in $90,000 worth of debt. That's massive.
I mean,
That's
that's
a mortgage.
everything. When you think about mortgage, car note, credit card debt, personal loans, and I think it's like $11,000 on personal debt. These numbers, so it makes you think, okay, I know we all are in debt. So it's not like we're sitting on the soapbox where we say we're not in debt.
Of course,
Me, I've always said I'm very aggressive with eliminating debt. I've learned about it over the so many years, because I'm an immigrant, but I think we come to America, or most people at a young age, free. They tell you, the first thing they always tell you is don't get a credit card. And it makes you curious, like, why is everybody telling me the same thing? And then you go get a credit card, and then years later, you found out why they told you don't get a credit card. You're getting credit card debt because they don't teach this stuff in school anywhere. So if you don't have somebody who's going to take you under their wing and teach you about this stuff, because imagine 15, 20 years ago, the internet wasn't teaching anyone, like YouTube and social media wasn't teaching anyone about this stuff. You had to go read it in a book or find someone deep in the internet on a personal page somewhere teaching you this kind of stuff in blogs that were hidden on other things. Now the information is out there, but still, as you were saying something about like business credit and stuff like that, I recently got one of these, like, saw an ad on Instagram. I decided to go down the rabbit hole towards business credit, scheduled a call. This guy called me. We were on the phone for about an hour, and he's saying, okay, we talked about personal debt. He couldn't help me there because I've done enough to make sure I have good excellent credit. I've done enough to make sure I eliminate my debt. I've done enough to make sure I have a good debt to income ratio and all these things. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Can't really help you there, but now I can help you get the business. We can leverage your personal credit,
Yep.
score, and all this stuff to get you business credit. He says, okay, I can match how much you have in personal credit. We can get you that much in business credit. So let's say $100,000. We can get you $100,000 in business credit. I said, what am I going to do with this money? And this is me just poking to ask questions and all this
Yeah.
stuff because I'm thinking
Yeah.
now, okay, what would I do with $100,000? And he says to me, we could get you in a program where you could invest this money. We could link you up with some real estate investors where you can invest this money to fix and flip. You and I know we've talked about this. I don't know how to fix and flip property. I don't have an interest. So it starts with me not having an interest in fixing and flipping property. But here we are now saying, do something to just figure out how to take advantage of taking this money and making it work. So that's where the alert started going off where I'm thinking, so I'm supposed to take money and force myself to do something that I have no interest in or something just because I have access to learning how to get it. And I'm going to, what if it doesn't work? It's not fair to say, because entrepreneurs will say, go and, but that was not my plan. It was never my intention or my plan. So think about all the people who are just thinking I've gotten access to 100K. I'm going to go take it now and flip it into real estate properties. And they have no knowledge of how to do this stuff. And it's not going to work for everyone. Yes, you're going to have success stories, but these are the people who are hungry, who probably have no point of no return. And their mindset is already prepared for this stuff. You fail. And I'm thinking like, nah, I'm not doing this. If it was something that I wanted to do and I had a plan, fine.
I've been there, done that, man. And if you want to build a business and a brand, especially with having that family attachment, man, you got to be way more riser and you can't risk it all. You got to have a strategy.
Yeah.
And I did that, Cess. I did that with the home flipping and things of that sort, knowing that I can multiply this capital if I deployed it into fixing this home here that clearly needs a new paint job, needs a new floor, things of that sort. But without the strategy, I used the business credit, went and put it into this home, but things didn't pan out. And I was okay personally, but the business that I took the credit on was in trouble. And I had to still repay that because the business has so much life and longevity to it. So there has to be a real strategy. And this is for the audience to understand. With or without a family, you can't risk it all on a business without having the right foundational strategy set. Right now, cost an arm and a leg to borrow money, man. Interest rates are at an all-time high. They're probably the highest ever in history, but they're at an all-time high. And borrowing this money at 24, 25%. I saw, just really quick, I saw a video of a guy that went and got two vehicles, one for his mom and one for himself at 25%. Hit hard time. Yeah, hit 25% on the car note, man. Hit hard times and they ravished his credit. The amount of debt just for him to get back caught up, it just didn't make any sense. And this is all just survival mode, man. But I just want to put out some stats to the people first and let them know that, hey, these things are alarming. This is that time of the year where you can get caught up in this, but hold control, take control, and build the foundational aspects of this. And I know
you're right. This is, especially at this time of the year, we're on holiday season. First, we had Halloween. Now we're about to hit with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas. So this is the time of the year people spend a lot of money. And if we're already talking in September, October, November about credit card debt hitting a high, can you imagine what it's going to be like when they report it next quarter?
I know.
Because this is that time where our kids want what they want. You're going to go out of your way for family to give them what they want. So people have to be really mindful. But bottom line is, I think as people are being mindful, we need to spend some time educating ourselves about our money habits. We need to make sure we practice better money habits. If we're going to have to do all this ambitious and adventurous things with money, with debt, with credit, we have to educate ourselves about how the system works, about how the processes of money work, how to make sure you don't get in debt or manage debt, because there's good debt, there's bad debt. And you have to make sure it's based on your personal circumstance. This is one thing I'm going to say that I've learned a lot recently, bro. A lot of people make decisions not based on what their goals and plans are, but what they impress upon them. This is where social media comes into play. Everybody's, like I said, somebody's saying, take this money, flip it. I have no interest in flipping. So imagine if I go into flipping, I'm going down a rabbit hole just because I want to keep making money. Now, if I had a plan to say, I want to build a business that sells soda, or I want to start a vending machine business, at least I have a plan. I'm going to go research it. So when I take money, I know what I'm deploying it into, and it has to make sense. The numbers have to make sense. I get what he was trying to say. You need to make money now. So
Yep.
sometimes people need to make money now. I always say there's tons of ways to make money that doesn't involve you putting in a lot of money, but it's going to involve your time.
Right.
And we have the tools. So if you take people, if you have a car, there's Uber, there's Turo, and these kinds of things where it's a start, because the mindset, it has to grow. You
Yep.
start somewhere and then you keep going and figure out. Education doesn't come in one day, doesn't come in 6 weeks. It comes over time, especially when it comes to money. You make it a lifestyle. The habits, they
Right.
say 90 days to make it a habit. And then obviously, or 21 days to make it a habit, 90 days to make it a lifestyle. So you have to keep
Yep.
going over and over. So one of the things we wanted to even get into is, as we were doing all this, we did a lot of research, and we realized there's certain topics that are pressing issues related to debt and credit.
Yep.
And there was a bunch of them. We picked a few of them that we wanted to go over. Hopefully that would give some insight to people that would help them in making sure they make better decisions with money, especially within the American system. I think one of the first ones is understanding your credit score and the reports. I think this is a very important thing, because
Oh
everything
yeah.
in America is tied to credit.
Oh
If you
yeah.
live, if
Definitely.
you live in America and you're not, like, as people would say, the rich or whatever, if you're the everyday human being, you need to understand how these things work. You need to
Yep.
understand how they're calculated, what goes into your debt to income ratio,
Yep.
and all these things. I think we're going to, there's an episode, Ralph and I'm going to make an episode about how to build and manage your personal and credit card debt. And we'll
Yep.
specifically focus
Break
on
down on that.
how
Correct.
to look at these things, breakdowns on that. So look out for that episode or check it out. It's a teaching moment episode to make sure. But these are just some of the things, Ralph, like ways to improve and maintain a good credit score. Checking your credit score. A quick one for checking is Credit Karma. It's
Yep.
not complicated. Download Credit Karma on your phone and use it to check your credit score.
Yep.
Check it every week if you want to. Put the alerts on so it'll notify you when it goes up and down. You want to know what these things are. And Credit Karma makes recommendations on how you can fix these things.
Exactly. They
It's
do.
a start when it comes
Yep.
to that.
And I know one of the other topics that we noticed that people are really, really moving toward and want to know more about is the debt management and the
Oh, yeah.
strategies for like effectively paying these things down. And I know you're very, really good at that, to the point where I remember this. So I remember doing Roll Dynamite beginning days on the West Side, where you consolidated your car and all these other loans and got one loan at a low interest rate, and you paid that sucker off. And then that's when you came with the black card. My bad if I'm putting too much of your business out there, but that's when you came with the black card. They treated us to a trip in Las Vegas. So that's a pressing thing that you guys as an audience need to look into as well too. Is what are ways that you guys can consolidate debt, or that every one of us can consolidate debt at a lower interest rate? Research that, look into that, because that's definitely a key right there too, man.
Yeah. When it comes to debt, there's two ways. If you have the money to pay it, you pay it off. If you don't have the money to pay it and you have decent credit, you consolidate. Consolidation can improve like your credit score. It'll do wonders. So this is a quick trick. If you have decent credit, and because maybe this is not the people who have their shattered credit, they can go
Right.
fix it through credit repair, which I don't know how to do, to be honest. But if you have decent credit in the 600s and you want to go up, or even within the mid 500s and want to really go up, let's say you had $20,000 in debt spread
Yeah.
across like credit cards, personal loans. If you can qualify for a decent rate for a loan, take the $20,000, consolidate, and just pay off all those debts. Yes, you're going to get one monthly payment. You have to be disciplined enough not to keep using any of those cards. So cut them up. Don't cancel them.
Okay.
Just stop using them.
Okay.
Pay off all the debt. And in about, I'd say 30 to 45 days, to be frankly honest, it happens in less, but it happens within the credit reporting cycle. Your credit score will shoot up, which
Yep.
then puts you in a better position. Now, when it comes to paying down the debt, there's two strategies wherein you get the snowball effect and the avalanche effect. So now the snowball effect is literally saying you take the minimum payment, you take all your debt and you find the ones you take the smallest payment.
Yep.
Let's say you have 3 credit cards, 1,000, 3,000, and 5,000. You take that 1,000, you tackle it. You move
Yep.
on to the 3,000, you tackle it. You move on to the
Yep.
5,000, you tackle it. Snowball. It's getting
Yep.
bigger. Then there's the avalanche effect where you're taking the highest interest rate. Most
Yep.
people will tell you to even go with that because if you had those 3 credit cards and let's say the $3,000 one had a 27% interest and then the 5,000 maybe had 8%, they'll tell you
Yep.
tackle that
Yep.
3,000 at 27, then come and tackle maybe the 5,008 and then maybe the 1,000 at 3%. So you
Yep.
want to do that. It's snowball versus avalanche. Go look these things up, check it out, because I think it'll really help when it comes to debt management. And yes, I think you can even call your creditors to get better terms with loans and with your
Yeah,
debt and
work with
figuring
them.
all these things out. You
Yep,
have
with
to
them.
do a lot of research. There's a lot of
Research
information.
and phone
Yeah,
calls
exactly.
can
There you
yep.
go.
Yeah, a lot of phone calls can help. Phone calls to these
Yeah,
creditors
so
and working with you. They understand that we're in a peculiar time now, and they'll do their best to help. Since I know another one of the pressing issues was choosing the right credit card for certain uses, and I know that was key because
boy,
I know we personally we have certain cards that we use for gas, certain cards that we use for groceries because you get a certain amount of points back. I know there's real strategy into that, but that's one thing that
people have to be really careful with using. I mean, this is it. If you're not disciplined enough with money, in my household, we do it all the time. If you're not disciplined enough with money, don't use a credit card. I know people will tell you use your cards for everything.
yeah,
If you're going to use your card to pay off your daily expenses or your bills, like let's say buying gas, doing groceries, you have to be disciplined to pay
yeah,
them off
yeah.
weekly. I know
Okay,
people say wait
okay.
till the month, end of the month. The end of the month might not even be enough
That's
because you're
key
not
game.
disciplined enough to know
Yeah,
that at the end of the month, what if you mistakenly spent more than, because you have to have a budget, which goes towards
yeah,
budgeting, will get there, but you have to make sure weekly. And if you want to be even really tight, 48 hours, because you spend on a credit card within 48 hours of a report on the card
yeah,
and you see the balance there. Within 48 hours, be ready to pay these things off. I think with the credit card, you have to be very disciplined. It's a credit card is one of those things where the easiest thing to swipe. It's
yeah,
plastic. It's
yeah,
not real money where you're actually seeing your
yeah,
money
yeah.
go. So somebody says $500 for this, $200 for that. You're just swiping. Next thing you know, you have $3,000 in debt and your budget was $2,000. So guess what? You paid it to, and now you have $1,000 in debt, which you say you're going to pay over time. That's
Correct.
where you get hit now with that interest, and that $1,000
Yep.
turns to 1,200 to
Okay.
1,400, and you still are going to be using it next month for that 2,000. So think about that. You have to reduce your credit card debt and just pay things on time. Have the discipline to do that. I know these
Yep.
things are not as easy, but you have to have the discipline. Next, I guess it goes into credit building and repair. Like Ralph said, there's a lot of people out there repairing
Yeah,
credit.
man.
If you
Loads.
can get with one of them, fine. The best prevention for credit is just to pay off the damn thing, but ultimately pay it off. If you're going to use it, pay it off. To build your credit, you have to understand how difficult to build these things. So when you do, you have to be mindful
Yeah,
when you
for
start
sure.
making decisions about spending money.
Yep.
Straight up.
There was a lot of pressing topics, and for sure we'll deep dive into those in the teaching moment episode. But one last one that I want to discuss in this episode was financial planning and budgeting. This is what the people are really needing help with: financial planning and budgeting. And I know for us ourselves, man, when we attach the technologies to the company, the QuickBooks and all these things, and we actually had a CPA, an accountant that was actually bookkeeping and looking at the books, and also it gave us a clear picture of our business. It let us know where we were burning cash at, and it let us know where we needed to
this
save
is
it.
how much money you have.
Yep, that plan was necessary.
When we spend, if we
Yep.
say we wanted to spend on something, she
Yep.
says, you don't have the money to do this, or where you getting the money to do this. And then you have to reconsider and say, think about it. So companies have
Yep.
an accountant, an accounting department, somebody who tells them what they can and can't do or have or don't have in terms of money. Most people personally don't have that. And obviously in families, one person you're hoping is the more financially responsible. That's why it's important to have budget. Tons of people out there have budget calculators. I know there was a time where I had I'd say about close to 40K in debt. This was maybe almost 10 years ago. And again, immigrant told me not to use the credit cards, used it. And this was not just credit card. This was personal debt and everything, like you say, when I consolidated everything. But essentially, I had to make a plan. I made a spreadsheet and I said, okay, I'm going to put
Yeah.
everything I owe. I wasn't even making like what was coming in. This was everything that was going out. And
Yeah.
then I would put the credit cards in red.
Okay.
And as I paid the monthlies, they would go from red to green. And I saw the payments I made and I used the snowball or avalanche. Mainly,
Okay.
I did the snowball and I was tackling it, moving on
Yeah.
to the next. So you get to see that sense of fulfillment when you make a payment and it
Yeah.
turns green. I wouldn't delete it. I'll just keep it there to say, okay, this one's green. I have 4 more that are red and I keep making those payments. So I just track everything that I spent and
Yeah.
it helped me what my bills were. I think it helped me having a budget. It's difficult for a lot of people. One of the most recent things a financial advisor told me about budgeting, he says, if you want to even make it simple for those people who are not super, super disciplined, is
Yeah.
figure out what all your bills are, your expenses. Budget for that. Write it down on paper if that's what it takes, but
Yeah.
automate it, put it in a spreadsheet. And once you pay those things off and put away money for your investments and savings, whatever is left in the bank account is yours to spend till your next paycheck.
Yeah.
Have at it. Do what you want to
Yeah.
do. Now you have 2 weeks till you get paid the next time. It's maybe not the best advice, but it works at least.
Yeah.
Because now I have 2 weeks to spend, let's say $1,000. Now it's $500 a piece. You have to be mindful checking that account to make sure you're not just swiping. Because if
Exactly.
you spend $1,000 in week 1, guess what? The next week you're
Yeah.
broke.
You
This
broke.
is where the
You
paycheck
tighten
to
it up.
paycheck comes in, and you don't want to be living like that. So I
It's
think
very stressful, man.
the
That stuff is
Yeah.
stressful physically, stressful mentally. It's a cycle, perpetual cycle where it's just nonstop and it can really beat you up, man. Been there, done that. Definitely don't aim to go back there. So it's good that we give in this game and definitely will give it in a real straightforward manner in that teaching moment for sure.
Yeah. So in the teaching moment, we're really going to just break it down as to what things people need to really do to manage and build. So build and manage your personal credit and debt. Because I think if you want to be a business owner and build business credit, you have to build your personal credit, which will
Yeah,
help you build
for
business
sure.
credit. But I think building your personal credit helps you discipline yourself in order for you when you're ready to tackle the business side of things. Because I think what happened in the pandemic and what's happening now, a lot of people just were credit repairing, doing all these things, paying somebody to do this stuff because we were always getting this free money. And we fixed certain things. So we put a plaster on it, we put a band-aid
Yeah,
on it,
correct.
and
Correct.
we didn't have the right money habits to make those smart decisions. So now you have all this money, opportunities come, but those opportunities are not really truly your calling or what you were supposed to be doing. Throw money in it, you put money in there and you realize, oh snap, bad
Yep.
decision. Now you're left with all this debt and you have to figure it out. People file for bankruptcy or they just don't pay it and it goes to collections and all these things. So we really have to be mindful and be thinking about, okay, if I want to be a business owner, for us, we were just talking about this with RD. For the longest time, we never took on debt. We didn't
Never.
borrow money from anyone. We didn't have credit cards. We didn't have any of that. We built the business based on sales. We built
Yep.
the business based on pure hustle, making
Yep.
sure we found customers and what the customers funded the business, if you want to
Yep.
put it that way.
Definitely.
And
Yep.
we initially it was us and then our customers. So we had no reason to take on debt because we didn't understand it. We didn't understand business credit. With time, we got to understand it. We got to understand how we could leverage it. But when you don't understand it, we just didn't do it because ultimately you go and take the debt. Now you got to pay it. So now you got to go find a side hustle to pay the debt. Because this is what everybody's telling everyone, get the side hustle. There's nothing wrong with getting it if it's going to get you ahead. People say get the side hustle so you can use that money to put in investments so you can grow. Not get it so you can backtrack. We've done it to backtrack to pay down debt. If that's what you have to do, you do what you got to do. But ultimately, if you form these good money habits, then you're getting the side hustle because it's going to get you to getting more money to make investments.
Definitely.
You're getting more money to pay down the debt if you're in debt. But once you get over the hump to these things, you start making better money decisions. Trust me, man, your life's going to be much more better. Like for me, I don't like debt. I just don't, period.
Yeah.
I can't avoid my mortgage debt. but
Exactly.
people would say it's good debt if you want to put it that way. But
Right.
when you think about it, like they're saying now the average car note is $700.
Yep.
Bro,
Average.
average car note.
Average. Yep.
My
Average.
first car, I had a BMW out of
Yeah.
college. I was paying $200 a
Yeah. The
month
black
for
one. I remember.
328, bro.
I remember
two
even when you got.
hundred dollars a month, and my interest rate
Yeah.
was like 2 point
Yeah.
something.
I
So to
remember.
think that people are paying for a similar car
Yep.
6, 7, 8, $900 in today's world, and these are people in my
Serious, man.
situation, which was out of college and
Yep.
first job.
Yep.
Scary, bro.
It's serious, man. Tax season is on the
It's
way.
scary.
I've said that in previous episodes that tax season is just one season where people spend the most money because they got a refund, quote unquote, and they go and spend
Yeah.
that frivolously. Yo, listen to this episode and this time try to do things a little bit different. This time stack the cash and pay down debts. This time get your refund and pay down these debts. So that way you're not in the cycle that continuously, and it gets pretty rough. When that cycle ramps up, it gets pretty rough. So, man, this has been
It's
great, man.
stressful, bro. I
Yeah,
don't care
definitely.
however you put it. It's stressful.
it is.
It's
It
stressful
is.
for everyone, especially
is.
when they're throwing. We are doing it. We're throwing these numbers in people's faces, but it's to have people understand the reality. So
Yep.
ultimately, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan if you're in it to get out
Yep.
of debt.
Yep.
Or you have to have a plan of what you want to do in your business and with
Right.
money. So when you get a windfall of money, you're not executing somebody else's vision, somebody
Right.
else's plan, somebody else's agenda. It's yours because, like I said, going back to the example of I had no interest in flipping. So now somebody's telling me I'll give you $175,000 worth of business credit. I'll put you in with a group of people, go flip.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
but I don't want to. And
Yep.
he was persistent with that. So imagine if I caved in to his plan, because that was his plan, not mine.
Yep.
He gets the benefits of something from
Correct.
being able to give me all that money. But for me, I don't want to use the money for that. So ultimately, I'm just going to say no. So you have to learn how to say no, people. Just
Yeah, man.
don't get yourself in trouble just because you think you want to be saying, I'm executing on these things. I'm executing. Ultimately, get yourself in debt. The stress is on you. The mental health problems are on you and all that. So ultimately, we just want people to make better money decisions, have better money habits. So
exactly.
if they're going to start and grow a business, they could do it and leverage good credit, good debt to be able to grow their where they go to sleep at night and not have to worry about these types of things. Because trust me, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, there's going to be so many more things on your mind that you have to figure. With probably the
shouldn't be
biggest
worried
thing
about
being
that. Correct.
scaling and people.
Yep.
You don't want to worry about having too much debt. You have to think about money, but you don't want to wake up every day worrying about debt. It's crippling people. So trust me, Ralph and I have had our personal experiences. But for us, especially me, those personal experiences are how I learned how to overcome these things. And I figured out plans and I shared those plans with people. I help family, I help friends to figure out how to consolidate, how to get out of there, how to pay down debt, how to increase their credit scores. Because it's liberating when you figure these things out and when you execute on them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one or found it useful and had some information in it. Like I said, we're going to be shooting a teaching moment on how to build and manage your personal debt and credit, because I think it'd be a disservice if we cannot teach you how to do these things, especially if you are and want to be a business owner. It's going to be really important that you know how to do these things before you get yourself in a rut.
Exactly. And guys, we teach you these things. We teach these things from personal experience because we've been there, done that. So it's not like we're teaching anything or giving advice on something that we've never experienced. So if you see this episode, you guys have heard all the stats. You guys have heard the pressing issues from Americans that they're asking in regards to debt and credit and what they need to know. Make sure to leave us some feedback. Let us know if the stats that you heard, let us know what you thought about the stats. Let us know what you feel in regards to the plans, the advices that we just gave and our input based on our personal experiences. Leave us a feedback. Make sure to rate us. Let us know if this information is helpful so that way we can curate more of this content for you. But once again, Cecil, it's been a great one. This is Family Man building the brand. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for listening in. Find us on all platforms where you listen to your favorite podcast. Leave us a review. Please share. Thanks much, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Definitely, people. Appreciate it, man. You guys
Of
reach out.
course.
We're here to help.
Of course.